So anyone? Yes, Archana, can you tell something regarding higher mental function?
Yes, sir.
So what are the headings of it?
Higher mental function that is controlled by cerebellum.
No, I will just tell me something on the examination. So in a bedside examination, if somebody asks you, tell me something regarding your higher mental function. So what are the headings under you examining your higher mental function? So just enumerate the headings under which you examine the higher mental function.
Appearance and behavior,
Good.
and
Next.
consciousness, speech, language, memory, yes sir, attention.
Cortical functions.
ओके एकछिन है त म एकछिन एउटा 1 मिनट दियो है त
हुन्छ सर.
Okay, just sorry for interruption. So what are the headings? One is the so we can so have you gone through Hutchison? So in Hutchinson, you just go on the examination headings. So we have appearance. So there is a mnemonics known as A, B, C, D, E, and MOS. A, B, C, D, E, and MOS. So medical officer S. So the headings is A is appearance, as told told by Akash. A is appearance, B is behavior, C is consciousness, D is delusion, illusion, and hallucination. E is emotions, M is memory, O is orientation to time, place, and person, and finally the important part is speech. Okay, so these are the headings under which you have to examine the patient for the higher mental function. So I'll repeat: A, B, C, D, E, MOS. So these are things written on a Hutchinson. So if you just go through the Hutchinson textbook of your practical book, so these are the headings under which examining the higher mental function: appearance, behavior, consciousness, delusion, illusion, hallucination, emotion, memory, orientation, time, place, and person, and speech. So we'll go briefly regarding all these headings. So higher mental function are those functions of the brain that are related to thought, memory, understanding, and perception, and intellectual. So these are the cognitive function. So we need to evaluate the cognitive function as by history as well as examination also. So these headings are not similar to mental history examination. So mental history examination comes under psychiatry. So we'll be dealing rather than cognitive function. So if the patient is okay, we can just go briefly examination by just your history taking. So if the patient is all right, you can assess the appearance, behavior, consciousness, delusion, illusion, language, emotion. Even you can also assess the memory and time, place, and person just by asking something regarding on your history. If the patient has some dysfunction regarding cognition, then you can go on detailed examination sequentially. So as told earlier, these are the headings on of higher mental function. A reference is Hutchinson textbook of practical medicine. So these are appearance, behavior, consciousness, delusion, illusion, hallucination comes under psychiatry part. Emotions. So there are certain conditions as discussed in the previous class that is suitable or palsy. Person has high emotions. Memory can be assessed by a chart known as mini mental scoring. And orientation time present person examine general condition examination. Speech is very important in your higher mental function because you need to assess the speech if there is any neurological case. So level of alertness, no specific testing is required. Someone is alert if they are awake and are interested in their surroundings and are quick to think and notice things. Other aspect cannot be tested appropriately if someone is not fully alert. So language function is, that is speech is the most important in higher mental function, which has 7 or 8 components. That is comprehension, there is fluency, content, naming, writing, reading, repetition, and articulation. So on your Viva, external may ask, can you name the component of speech? So these are the components. So comprehensive is understanding, fluency is a tone, is a fluent part of speech. Naming is able to particular name the object. Writing is just write the things commanded by the examiner. Reading is to just read whatever written on the paper. Repetition is repeating the phrase asked by the examiner. And articulation is the articulation part is the how do you speak a certain part. So all language disorder have naming difficulty. So most of the person have, if there is something wrong in the or in the peripheral as well as central part, you'll have basically naming difficulty. Fluent aphasia are the lesion that posterior to the central sulcus, and non-fluent aphasia are the lesions anterior to the sulcus. Just few. So sorry. So we have aphasia part. Aphasia is difficult in is basically it may be Broca's or Wernicke's aphasia. So we have fluent aphasia where the person is not able to understand but continues speaking, whereas non-fluent aphasia is a part of Broca's aphasia where person is able to understand but the fluency is hampered. So these are the particular anatomical site where there is a lesion that may produce fluent aphasia and non-fluent aphasia. If there is something wrong with the repetition, person is unable to repeat the certain phrase given by you, you have some lesion in the Sylvian fissures. Comprehensive is a simple thing. Is the person is able to understand whatever things asked by you. Example, a simple question is, what is the name? If the person is able to reply you, then the comprehensive part is okay. So example is Broca's aphasia. Broca's aphasia is the particular part of the broadband area where the lesion will produce. A person is unable to produce but able to understand you. Able to understand the simple question like name, age, and job. Also, complex question like you can say, please raise your right hand, please flex your right knee, and next is you can just ask, is this a pain? That's something else. If the person is able to understand, he will either nod his head or able to speak something. So that is the comprehensive part. So if we have sensory aphasia, these are the non-fluent. They are fluent aphasia. Person is not able to understand, and person is go on speaking nonsense thing like, what is your name? And this person will say, so I went to the place yesterday at 2 p.m. and I came here at 8 a.m. No, no, I am just asking your name. Okay. So my dog is very, very cute. So he'll not be following whatever you have been asking. But the fluency will be okay. So person will be having fluent conversation. Whereas in broca's aphasia, person is able to understand. So what is your name? But unable to reply fluently. So what is your name? So he's able to understand, but the fluency is affected. The fluency is so fluency assessment can be done by listening to the spontaneous speech. Fluent speech is a verbal output that is normal to excessive or easily produced with normal phrase length, 5 or more words, and normal rhythm and tempo. So content is the non-paraphasic errors and neologism. So example in warning aphasia. So if somebody is asking your name, he or she will tell the address. That is the neologism is something new that is not related to the content. So it may be paraphasic error, either whole word or it may be some phonemic word. If somebody is asking chair or for table, so if you are asking what is this is a table, this is chair. Next is the phonemic. Phonemic is person is able to reply back, but not exact word. Like if what is this? Is this a table? Person says a cable. And neologism is there is something extra word beside the normal conversation part. So naming is the another part of the speech component. So the person very common real object like key, pen, or coin, and asks to name the object. In case of sensory aphasia, person will not able to tell what is the name. But in case of broadcast, person will person will able to know, but unable to properly give out the proper word. So writing and reading is also part of assessment of speech component. You can ask the person to read a sentence, and ask the person to obey a written command, or ask the person to write a sentence. If there's something wrong in your writing, that is dysgraphia. It is something regarding the reading, that dyslexia. So, in case of sensory aphasia, last is repetition. So I'll go back to sensory and warning case. So repetition is asking the person to repeat sentence of increasing complexity. So example is there is a class on Zoom at 2 p.m. at lecturer B. So it is a complex part of the sentence. So there is different part. There is time. There is place. There is a topic. So I ask the person to repeat this thing. So person is if the person is in case of Broca as well as warning case, person is unable to repeat. In case of sensory, person will repeat something else. So there is a neologism. The basic idea is these are the part of your examination to separate the warning case, that is sensory aphasia versus motor aphasia. Because in case of CVS, cerebrovascular accident, person is able to have a difficulty in speaking, and you need to assess where is the lesion. Is superior temporal or is inferior temporal gyrus. So in case of Broca's, comprehensive is present. Person is able to understand. Comprehensive is able to understand. But in case of sensory, person is unable to understand. Fluency is, in case of Broca's, the fluency is not maintained, but person is able to understand. In case of sensory, person is not understanding, but fluency is very good. Person is able to speak nonsense, but the fluency is very good. Naming, person is unable to name. In case of sensory, person is able to name, but with difficulty in case of Broca's. Writing, yes, person is able to write. Read, yes, but difficulty in Broca's. But in case of sensory, the naming is also altered, the writing is also altered, the reading is also altered, because person not understanding what you have been given, what you have been told to read. Repetition, no. Again, the repetition part is very difficult in case of Broca's as well as sensory. Articulation is affected in both, because patient is having difficulty or there is a disbalance, improper word patient is articulating. But in case of sensory, the articulation is good because he's not able to understand but is able to articulate proper. So this is how you would separate, distinguish between sensory and broadcast. This speech is asked in exam if you are given a neurological case. So this is important part of your higher mental function, speech and memory. So next is memory. So memory is either it is a immediate memory, short-term memory, or long-term memory. So immediate memory, you can ask the patient to repeat a string of 7 digits and one after other sequentially. Ask him to repeat it backwards too. It is test of attention too as well. So we can go for you can just for example is you can just go for example is you can go for example typically is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7 6 5 4 3 2 1. So it is a recent. So when you can ask the patient to just go, I've been saying you 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So they can just distract it for next job, and you can even come back after 5 minutes. So what I have told. So you'll say you have told 1 2 3 4 5 6. Then it go backwards 7 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1. So that's the immediate memory. Short-term memory is you can ask the patient to memorize 3 unrelated words like water, cow, and bird, and distract him again and come after 5 minutes, and you can recall the list. If the person is unable to properly, you can just use a clue. So I have told you something regarding the liquid particle that is very essential for living. So it's a water. And you can just tell there is one name of the animal that is the national animal of Nepal. You can just say cow, and next one is the bird. You can just give the hint the part of the animal kingdom where he is able to fly. So bird. So this is how you assess the short-term memory. Long-term memory, you can go for the particular events like the date of birth. You can go for your marriage date. You can go for your son birth date. Example is I was born on day Saturday on January 14, 1984 at Patan, and so my pattern. So you can just keep the part of your date. So most of the time this acute delirious state, person will have impaired short term and intermediate memory, but person is able to recall the long term memory. So you can do these all thing in a minute pattern as well. This is the millimeter scoring. So millimeter scoring is also sometimes asked in exam. What is millimeter scoring? So millimeter scoring is the particular pattern in which you examine the memory of the patient. So you can go for orientation, registration, attention, recall, language, and copying. So score is total 30, and you must score at least 25 above to show your intelligence, your memory is okay. You can go for a particular heading like orientation. You can go for 5 scoring. So how is oriented? You can go for year, month, day, and date and session. If he is able to recall everything regarding year, month, day, date, and season, he will score 5 out of 5. You can go also for registration and recall. So you can register 3 different objects, like told previously, and you can ask to recall all these things after 5 minutes. So you can give scoring particular. Or you can also give scoring for attention, like subtracting 100 minus 7 and go on negative part, like 93, 86, you can go with 79, then you can go 70 or 72, so go on. So this way you can assess the memory. You can go for a particular heading to assess the memory. So on the high mental function, this too is very important, particularly the speech part. Comprehensive fluency, naming, writing, reading, repetition, and articulation. So how do you separate from the sensory and the broadcast? Next is your memory. What are the types of memory? How do you assess minutely the memory can do for millimeter scoring? Okay. So we have different. The next term is construction. Construction is the things you are able to draw. Ask the patient to draw clock, including all the numbers, and to place the hands at 4, 10. For patient we have trouble doing this. Example, particularly in case of hepatic encephalopathy, grade 1. Patient is everything is okay. You need to check the construction apraxia. You can ask the patient to join the line. You can just write the number 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we ask to join the number by a line serially. If the patient is able to do that, that patient is out of HC. If you want to prove the hepatic encephalopathy or uremic encephalopathy, you can do for construction of apraxia. This is abnormal, that known as apraxia. The lesion is in the non-dominant parietal lobe. So this is the next term, agnosia. Agnosia is the anomalies of perception of sensation despite normal sensory pathway. These are the things that are tested for parietal and occipital lobes. Tested by asking to recognize the familiar faces, the right and left part of the body, and different fingers. Stregnosis, you can draw something on your back. Graphithestia, you can draw something on your palm, and ask the patient to recognize what has been drawn on your palm, on the back. So if the patient is unable to find out that there is something wrong with the parietal lobe, that is the occipital lobe. So these are the agnosia. So these are various lesions, various terms known as doesn't recognize faces, that is prosopagnosia. It cannot recognize the body part, that is astomatoagnosia. It ignores the one side known as hemianagenic syndrome. Ignores disability, that is anosognosia. Cannot recognize finger right or left, that is respective agnosia. So basically is the visual, the sensory perception of something part of the body or something object. So these are the agnosia part. Apraxia is inability to perform, that I have discussed earlier, unable to perform some non-individual sequential functions despite having intact motor, sensory, and cognitive abilities. These are the lesions for parietal and occipital lobe. So apraxia may be ideomotor, ideational, limbic, limbic-kinate, buccofacial, or gait. So ideomotor is a patient cannot do a single purposeful task like combing hair or blowing a matchstick. Patient is able to understand and also able to tell the steps of everything, but properly is unable to pick the comb and start combing the hair. But he's able to do that if you give a comb. So that is the ideomotor. So he's having something less idea of picking up comb. So उसलाई चाहिँ थाहा हुन्छ कि योले कपाल कोर्ने हो, तर कपाल कोर्नको लागि सिक्वेन्सली कहीँ उठाएर हात फ्लेक्स फ्लेक्सन गरेर कोर्न चाहिँ उसलाई आउँदैन. So there is some idea problem regarding the task performing. These are the ideomotor apraxia. Ideational is the patient is unable to correctly carry out the sequence of common tasks, although each of these component parts can be successfully performed. Next, we have aphasia. I have already told Wernicke's aphasia is a disorder characterized by markedly impaired comprehension and repetition. So this is very important. Comprehension repetition is altered. The person is not able to understand and go on is speaking. The fluency is okay. Unable to understand. Repetition, not unable to repeat. Writing, no. Unable to write. Read, no. Unable to read. So these are the lesion of your sensory part of your brain. That is the superior temporal gyrus. Lucas, person is able to speak, but non-fluent verbal output. So we have impaired repetition. Person is able to read, but not properly able to write. Yes. Unable to repeat. Fluency is abnormal, but comprehension is okay. Person is able to understand. There is conduction aphasia, that is characterized by prominent impairment of repetition, relatively intact comprehension, and verbal output that is fluent. So we have fluent, we have intact comprehension, but unable to repeat it. Transcortical aphasia is patient is language listening in which patient is unable to repeat is able to repeat is intact. Maybe some transcortical motor or transcortical sensory. So we have nominal aphasia. That is a very interesting one. Disorder of speech characterized by just inability to name object or things about, but preserve comprehension and speech output. That is anomic aphasia. So we are unable to name the object. So person is, if you are asked the person to just show me, you just put the mobile in front of the person and person asks, what is this? So person unable to, person is unable to name the object. Though person is able to understand, उसलाई थाहा छ कि यसको बारेमा सोधेको हो, but is unable to name the object. That lesion of the angular gyrus. Next is the FMA. Is a complete loss of the ability to speak, but retain comprehensive and writing ability. There is particularly lesion of the frontal upper column. With abulia, loss of initiative, willpower, or drive. So we have initiation problem. That is, person is very reluctant to initiate the thing. That is abulia. So there are various components. So for exam point of view, we need to know regarding the Broca's-aphasia, Wernicke's aphasia, apraxia, agnosia, and this minimental scoring, and short-term, intermediate, and long-term memory loss. And this is very important. So for higher mental function, you need to know the heading, what are the headings, and you need to know the speech and memory. So if you are able to answer these all, so you'll get a good marks on your exam. If somebody asks you what are the headings, if you have to properly also tell something regarding memory or speech, so this will add on to your marks on your long case if you have been given a case of a neurological disorder. Okay, thank you. So this is quick, short topic, but very important topic in the exam.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we will be going on some of the small but important topics next class as well. So you have been asked to go on for your virtual class, or you have been asked to come in the hospital. Is there any notice?